Welcome back to Scared of Beautiful. My name is Paige, and I am here today with the Married at First Sight review for episode 8. Y'all, we are 8 episodes into the season. Before I get into the review, I'd like to welcome all my new friends, subscribers. We're a family here at Scared of Beautiful. We are here to enlighten, encourage, entertain, empower, and educate. But today, we got to get into a little reality TV tea, honey, and discuss this Married at First Sight review. If you like what you see, I want you all to hit the like button. Give me your thoughts and comments on the episode and subscribe to the channel. Join our family. Let's get into it. All right, y'all. So we get into the episode. We learn that we're about 2 weeks into these marriages, and we get to Brianna and Vincent. Now, as we know from last episode, Brianna and Vincent left on kind of a bit of a cliffhanger. Brianna and Vincent had a fight about Vincent spilling some champagne. Brianna made a couple of, sarcastic comments and jokes, and Vinny did not take kindly to those jokes. He was offended, he felt disrespected, and last time we saw him, he had packed up his backpack and was headed out to his house. We get into the episode and we see that Brianna and Vincent are back in bed. So I'm like, is this the next day or what? Well, thankfully, we find that Vincent got to the parking garage and decided that he should not go home because they had a fight. He should turn around and try to work things out with his wife. I just want to applaud Vincent for being a big person and recognizing in the moment that he tends to run. And instead of running, he realized, nope, I'm married. Let me go back in here with my wife. This is our home. So they have a conversation about everything that happened. Brianna apologizes for her tone. She explains that she was just joking and being sarcastic and that she did not intend to hurt his feelings or hurt him at all. Vincent accepts that apology, but he does say that he doesn't really understand why she doesn't realize that she was being rude. And I think here we just see a classic case of miscommunication. They are talking at each other, not to each other, and they are expecting each person to know the other person, right? And so many times we see these miscommunications happen in all types of relationships. So I'm glad they were able to reconcile and work that out. It was a really small tiff. I hope that they continue down this path of communication. Next we get to Eric and Virginia. Virginia is getting ready to pack to go away to a friend's wedding. Eric is saying how tough it's going to be away from her so soon. But he's gonna try to get through it. The next thing we see him taking his dogs out for a walk. His dog and Virginia's dog, and he ends up running into Ryan. Just so happened. I think production might have set that up, but okay. They get to talk about what's going on in their marriages, how they're settling in, and both of them talk about how it's interesting living with a new person and just trying to learn that person. It was a good interaction between the two guys since they both seem to be two of the most conservative guys on the show. And their wives are more outgoing. So it was good to hear them bond and commiserate over what's been going on so far. Eric does talk about how disappointed he is in Virginia's lack of affection. And interestingly enough, we'll see later on where it's the exact opposite in Clara and Ryan's relationship. Clara is extremely frustrated with Ryan's lack of affection. So, I don't know. Maybe they should swap partners? Wife swap? I don't know. Might be on to something there. Next, we go to Chris, right? Oh, Chris. Chris has gotten back to Atlanta and decides that he needs to meet with his pastor and one of his friends to catch them up on everything that has transpired in he and Paige's marriage. I had been waiting on this reunion because, as we saw in the initial episodes, Chris thinks highly of his pastor. He met with him prior to marriage and wanted to get his opinion on him getting married. So I've been wondering how his pastor was going to react to seeing Chris's personality, if we can call it that, so far unfolding on the show. And honey, it did not disappoint. Chris starts to talk to the friend and the pastor. And the pastor and the friend are joking. Like, what you have to tell us, bro? You pregnant? She pregnant already? Y'all having twins? Because, you know, Chris was open about his desire to have a honeymoon baby. Well, look, Chris lays it all on the line and stops the pastor right there and says, actually, I have asked Paige for a divorce. And the pastor just looks like, say what now? A divorce? Within a week? So it gets better. Chris then immediately goes to talk about his reaction when he first saw Paige walk down the aisle, that he was not attracted to her at all. He then goes on to explain that even though he didn't have any attraction to her, he went on to have sex with her the first night of the marriage and continued to have sex with her because he thought that the sexual connection would build some type of attraction to Paige. The pastor just kind of looks at him because I'm pretty sure he's recalling the conversation that we all recalled when Chris sat down with the pastor initially and said that he wasn't going to rush into sex because he wanted to make sure this marriage was built on something other than physical attraction. Yeah, he talks a real good game. You didn't fool me, Chris. Okay. He then drops the bombshell on the pastor and his friend that his ex-fiance is pregnant and that he is asking Paige for a divorce so that he can focus on being a father. Thankfully, the pastor sees straight through Chris's BS and says that Chris made a commitment before God and that Chris should do the mature thing and honor his vows, honor his family, honor Paige, her feelings, and her family, and stick with his marriage. He can co-parent. He can be in his child's life without dishonoring his marriage. He says that Chris's decision is premature and that Chris is being immature in this situation by running away from his marriage. The friend that's with the pastor brings up all of Paige's good qualities, her faithfulness, her intelligence, her good sense in finances because she's an accountant. He thinks that Chris is throwing things away prematurely without even seeing all of what Paige has to offer. The pastor then goes on to talk about how Chris is being selfish. He's not taking into consideration how this will affect his family. Also, again, Paige's family and her friends, and how this will be an embarrassment to them all. Chris, in typical narcissist fashion, gets upset and visibly becomes frustrated and agitated and pretty much throws a tantrum. Something like this. Real life reenactment. That's what Chris looks like. And because he won't disrespect his pastor, he says respectfully, I'm finished with this conversation. You know, in that mumble speak he does. He ends the conversation with the pastor and the friend and no longer wants to talk about it. Y'all, Chris is so funny. He is just whole hot mess central. Never wants to be told that he's wrong. And I blame his parents, because they seem like they have coddled him and upheld him in his crap for his whole life. He is not grown to the point of being anybody's husband. He is shallow. He is superficial. We'll get to more of that later. Just say, I'm not a Chris fan. Next, we go back to Haley and Jacob, and we see them meeting with their friends. So in this whole episode, the couples are meeting one-on-one with friends and family, giving them a dish on what's going on in the marriages so far. So Haley meets with her friend and tells her that the warm and fuzzy feeling she was feeling the first 2 or 3 days of the marriage quickly wore off. She talks about the conflict that her and Jacob had and how he flashed out asking her if she had a boyfriend at home and wondering why she wasn't warming up to him and becoming more intimate with him. She admits that she started to pull back from him the more she got to know him. She did not like his weird obsession with the 80s. She did not like the goofy clothes he bought on the honeymoon. And the friend tells her, so you don't like him because he doesn't dress well? Like, girl, you can fix that. And I was thankful for that friend. You know, she was able to give Haley a bigger appreciation of take your time, get to know him, know who he is as a person before you just throw it all away. And 1 to 2 weeks is not enough time to know who he is as a person. The friend lets us all know that Haley is a runner. She hasn't been in a serious relationship, and we knew that for over 7 years. And whenever she feels herself getting close to one, she runs in the opposite direction. This seems to be clearly on par with what Haley is doing so far, and I want her to let her guard down. She does listen to the friend, and Haley tells the friend that she is open to working on the marriage and she's open to getting to know him better. So I hope she sticks to her word and begins to let her guard down, because, you know, we build these walls up, ladies, as defenses, but you have to realize when you build the wall up, you also have to try to help dismantle it. No one can dismantle it on their own. So you have to be open and do your part as well. So I hope that Haley will look a little deeper, get beyond the 80s, get beyond the bodybuilding, and really try to get to know Jacob. Next, we get to Eric, who's meeting with his friend. And Eric tells the friend about Virginia's lifestyle. How she is a party girl. She likes to go out regularly, as in multiple times in 1 week. She likes to drink heavily, regularly as well. And Eric is just worried about how the differences in their lifestyle will affect their relationship, if they will be able to move past their differences. The friend cautions Eric about not being too controlling, about giving Virginia some space to be her own person. And again, I felt that that was great advice. Eric does come across a little controlling. I know he's meaning to just be protective and be the man and assert himself, but there's a way you do it without feeling like someone's parent. To his point, though, Virginia also has to compromise. You came on a show where you knew you were getting married. You should know that getting married means you don't get to hang out with your friends every week and not Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as she said, 3 days a week. It's a bit much for anybody's marriage. And it has nothing to do with being controlling. It's about being respectful to your vows, to your spouse. And unless they're going to be at every party with you, that's a lot to be out every night and then drinking heavily without your spouse in the picture. And he can't drink like that and party like that because of work. So they need to compromise a lot in their relationship. Eric says that Virginia has walls up, that all of her family has told him that, and that he's willing to try to help her dismantle these walls, break them down a little bit, but he's not going to force her. And he fears that ultimately their lifestyle challenges might be too much to overcome. Next, we get to Vincent. Vincent is meeting with his friend and telling his friend about how things are going with him and Brianna. He lets his friend know about the issue with communication, that he feels Brianna is a little too blunt, too straightforward sometimes. And he reiterates that respect is big for him. The friend does a really good job of challenging him to say, what does respect look like to you? What does respect mean? And I think it was a really good question because Vincent is rather young. I also think this plays into his culture, where he feels anytime a woman says anything back to him or jokes about him in what he perceives as a demeaning way is disrespectful. He wants cheerleading. He wants ego stroking. He wants, you're the best, baby. And he's a little sensitive. He admits that he's sensitive and that he would like Brianna to take a softer tone with him. I think, again, there's a middle ground there. He shouldn't be coddled, but I do think you should pay attention to your spouse and give them what they need. If the sarcasm doesn't work for him, Brianna has to learn how to pull that sarcasm back a little bit. I really like this part because Vincent was a little vulnerable and open. He was more vulnerable and open with his friend than he was with Brianna, actually, when he talked about the situation. And he just laid it on the line and said, I had really planned this nice surprise for her with this champagne, and I wanted to impress her. And instead, when I took the bottle out of my backpack and tried to open it, it went all over the place, and I was embarrassed. And that's just the short and long of it. He was embarrassed. He wanted to impress her. He wanted to be like the cool, slick guy with all this swag. And by flubbing the opening of the champagne, he didn't look like that. And so his manhood was a little bruised. And when Brianna joked about it and didn't necessarily rush to make sure he was okay and clean up everything, he was a little hurt. So he admits that he's a little delicate. And the friend gives him great advice by saying, dude, you can't expect her to be you. And I think that's a takeaway for a lot of us in all types of relationships, not just romantic relationships, even friendships, right? We expect people to react and respond and do the things that we would do. And when they don't, we're hurt and we're offended. And a lot of times the other person just comes from a totally different place and perception, and they don't understand what they did wrong. So this is why communication is paramount in relationships. If someone has offended you or, otherwise done you wrong, you have to sometimes speak up. If it's a relationship that you want to salvage, hey, you did this, it really hurt me. This is how I perceived it. And a lot of times it's just a miscommunication. They are not intentionally trying to hurt you, but instead we get in our own head like Champagne Vinny did, and we create these whole narratives of they're disrespecting me. How could they? And the other person is completely oblivious. So the friend was on point with that advice. I really hope Vincent takes it to heart and is not so quick to rush to anger or to offense. Step back, look at it for what it is, communicate. And now, if the person keeps doing it, that's something different. But you have to have the initial communication because a lot of times we just don't know. People who love us aren't trying to intentionally hurt us. So give people benefit of the doubt sometimes, y'all. All right. Next, we sit down and the girls and the guys are having simultaneous get-togethers. They do these all the time. On the girls' side, Virginia is still at her wedding. She's not there. Paige isn't with the ladies, and Chris is also not meeting up with the guys, which is probably a good thing given how they left Las Vegas. But we'll talk about the girls get together and the guys get together separately. So in the girls get together, Clara talks about her and Ryan's first like little fight or tiff, and she reveals that it was about drinking. This crowd really loves to drink, y'all. Anyway, Clara was hosting a little get together with her friends for someone's birthday. Her friends asked Ryan to take shots. And Ryan was like, no, I'm good. But they kept, trying to pressure him, get him to take shots. And he got really upset and offended by it. No means no where Ryan is concerned. He did double back and apologize for his attitude with Clara and just let her know, I need to warm up to people, get to know them better. I probably took it the wrong way and I apologize for that. That's a big thing. With them, they seem open for communication. They can admit when they're wrong and they can apologize and move forward. So I like this part so far about them. Brianna talks about how she thought this was going to be an easy process. You were either going to really love your husband or hate him, but she loves Vinny or is falling in love with him. She really likes him at the very least. But is noticing the work that goes into a relationship and having to choose that person every day, having to wake up and get to purposefully know the person and get to work on the relationship day by day. She understands why they were chosen. She thinks they're a really good match, but she's honest that it's not sunshine and roses every day. I appreciate the honesty there. Haley talks about everything that's going on with her and Jacob. She lets the ladies know that they're getting a little better with their interactions. They're getting to know each other. They decided to start fresh. And I was good to hear Haley say that. I was really glad to hear her say that. I think Jacob deserves a shot. He is a little weird, but I think there may be some good things there if Haley opens herself up to the process. Clara goes back in on her and Ryan's relationship, and she voices her sexual frustration. She again lets the ladies know that they still have not had sex. Um, and this bothers her because she's used to moving at a faster pace, maybe even too fast, because she tells the lady that she's used to giving all of herself away very quickly. So to me, that means not only does she say I love you quick, which is what she told us last episode, but she's used to diving in physically as well, which a lot of times is a mistake. Because if the physical is good, you feeling good, you liking it, and then you don't even really get to know the person and it becomes all about physical, then when the physical starts to wear off, you find out you don't even really like the person because you didn't know nothing about them. You just knew what was good was good. So I think Clara may be doing a good thing right now with the pace that Ryan is taking. Um, Again, they need to compromise, but it's only been 2 weeks. 2 weeks, girl. You can go a little longer. 2 weeks. I promise you, it ain't gonna kill you. You'll be all right. Next, we get over to the guys get together, and the guys are letting everybody know what's going on in their marriages. Vincent says he loves the home cooked meals. However, he would like to be alone sometimes. It's hard adjusting to someone being at the house every time when he comes home. I understand Vincent as someone who's been single for a while. I know what it's like to want your own space. Uh Maybe they can do her in the other bedroom and he in the other bedroom when he gets home sometimes just to unwind, watch a little TV by himself. But again, this is why y'all got to communicate. Let these things be known up front so they don't just build up. Eric hears that and jokes that he and Virginia are very much alike and that maybe he should have been paired with Virginia. Eric is a lover, y'all. Eric wants to hug and kiss and be all up under you. I guess he feels like I'm already going to be gone flying my planes. So when I'm home, I want us to be together and loving on each other. And I'm not mad at it. I get it, Eric. Jacob is afraid of what will happen if the tables turn and he gets to decision day and Haley has letting her guard down, but he doesn't like her the way that she likes him. So he's worried about their progression and he does not want to get her to let her guard down and then he hurt her. So I think that's some good insight, but you got to stay committed to the process. And if you all are both working, I don't think it's something to put on yourself that I made her let her guard down. She's the only one who can let her guard down. And if at the end of the day it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But don't put too much pressure on it. Ryan talks about being slow to trust. Um, I understand being guarded. A lot of these people are guarded. They have walls up. They've been hurt. And that's why I always say before you get into a serious relationship, everybody needs therapy, y'all. You know, you really need to work on your emotional baggage before you get into something new and you're making your partner pay for what everybody did. Childhood trauma, emotional baggage from past relationships, broken friendships. You know, it's not fair to put all of that stuff on to someone who you're supposed to love. You have to do your own work. And I really wish, I don't know what the background process is for this show, but I think they need to start asking some questions about therapy if the participants have been to therapy and maybe even getting releases to see those therapy notes because it's important to know the childhood background and the mental state of some of these contestants before you put them into a marriage with somebody else, because this is not just reality TV. This is somebody's life at the end of the day. And the decisions that they're making for these matches could have lasting impacts. I need Lifetime to get it together when it comes to that part of it. Next, we get to Virginia and Eric. They're coming back home and everybody's getting ready for their housewarming parties. Virginia is back from the wedding that she went to. And Eric immediately wants to know if she missed him. It's important to know for him that she missed him. She thought about him while she was gone. Now, Eric, I don't really know if she had time to miss you, because then you let us know that you all had a checking in process where you would talk every hour or two. Sir, this is a bit much, Eric. I like you, but she told you she was leaving for 4 days for her friend to get married. I wouldn't want to be at the wedding reception trying to have fun and dance and, catch the bouquet, because she was a bridesmaid. We have to, get our makeup done. We have to get our hair done. We're sipping champagne. We're in the limo. I wouldn't even have my cell phone with me, let alone have it tethered to me every hour or two to call you. So you're doing a bit much. I'm a little on Virginia's side when it comes to that part of it. They're having the housewarming, and this is where Eric will get to meet Virginia's male best friends. But Virginia talks about how worried she is about this meeting, because she thinks this meeting will reveal more of Eric's jealousy. And if that's the case, it's going to be a big problem for them. Chris and Paige. Chris comes back on the scene per usual. Guns blazing, rare form. He decides to call Paige. Paige actually answers. Paige is better than me, y'all. I wouldn't be answering this man's phone calls at all. But I understand this is a television show. She has cameras in her face. So she answers, puts him on speakerphone, and he asks if Paige is willing to sit down the next day for a talk with his ex-fiance and Chris and herself. He says that he wants to clear the air and thinks it would be a cool thing to do for them to just lay it all out on the table. Paige, this should have been your response right here. That should have been it. But instead, Paige says she has to pray about it, and that somehow she tells the talking head that Chris wanting to speak with her makes her question if he really wants to get a divorce and move on. Because if he wanted that, why would he want to have this talk? This girl, y'all, she trying so hard. Then she says, I want to protect my peace. Do you, Paige? I don't think you do. Because if you want to protect your peace, you wouldn't have answered the phone. If you wanted to protect your peace, you would have said H no when he asked you the question. But no, Paige is like a lot of us ladies. Ladies, don't be a Paige. Paige wants closure. Closure is a myth. Particularly when it comes to narcissists and manipulators like Chris. There is no closure to get from this situation. You've known him for less than 2 weeks. You don't need closure. Move on. The man has shown you his true colors. He has told you. He has shown you physically. He has abandoned you several times in 2 weeks. Going to Chicago, going to get breakfast and not coming back for 4 hours. What else do you need to see? Now, I put this here so that we could talk about self-love, right? Because Paige needs that. A lot of people do. But right now we're talking about Paige. Self-love. It says being in love with every part of yourself, body and mind, knowing that you are more than enough. You're more than enough, Paige. Too much, in fact, for Chris. More than enough, sis. I need you, if you watch this, read this. Take a picture of it. Write it down. Remember it. You are more than enough. You don't need closure. Pay this man dust. Move on with your life. God would not do this to you. He wouldn't. He's sending you red flags, smoke signals, pigeons. Girl, you got all the signs early on. Please move on with your life. Next, we get to Jacob and Haley in their housewarming. Per usual, Jacob just is so awkward. He talks too much about past relationships for my liking. He makes jokes about the bitterness and horrible relationships that he's been in the past. He called them all disasters. And people need to realize when you bash your prior relationships, it actually says more about you than about the other person. It shows that you're not healed, and it shows that you have no self-awareness, because in no relationship is it always the other person's fault. So keep those types of conversations to yourself, Jacob. Learn how to read the room. They go in the kitchen, and Haley's friends tell Jacob again that Haley has commitment issues. She's a commitment phobe, and at the first sight of emotion, she runs. Good things to know. On the other hand, Jacob's friends tell Haley that Jacob is a really good guy, a really genuine guy, but he doesn't do well with nuance, with hints. He needs you to be straightforward and direct. And Haley can see from getting to know his friends where and admits that she's missed some cues already. And that has led to a lot of their miscommunication. So they try to do a little better. His friends implore her to dig a little beneath the surface and dive into his world. I think she should. It's good advice. Next, we get to Virginia and Eric's housewarming. Virginia tells all of the people at the housewarming how she goes out with her girlfriends and they don't want to do shots. She doesn't want to pressure them. So instead, she'll come home and do shots by herself. Y'all, can we get AA on the phone for Virginia? I think it's appropriate at this point. You know, there are levels to drinking. I won't call someone who drinks every day necessarily an alcoholic, right? You can come home and get you a glass of wine. You can come home and have a beer or two. But when you come home and do shots by yourself, that's a different level. That's a bit much. I'm worried about you, Virginia. You know, you were over here worrying about Chris. But I think you might need to worry about you. Because this goes beyond normal parameters of people who actually have to get up and go to work every day. What does she do? Do we know yet? I'm confused. Anyway, Eric's friends talk about how introverted he is When he was at his wedding, he sat in the back, and you know, we get it. We know that Eric is a low-key dude. We see that he's out of place with Virginia. I just hope they can get it together. Eric's friends really like Virginia. They think that she will bring something to him with her extroverted nature, and that they'll be a good match. I hope they can get it together. Virginia's guy friend pulls Eric out to the balcony for a talk. Eric kind of gets defensive, folds his arms, doesn't look like he's open to the conversation. But he listens, and the friend is basically telling Eric, Virginia's a great girl. She's really doing this for the right reasons. She wants to be married. Our friend group has been friends for years, and this is the most serious I've ever heard her talk. That really reassures Eric, and he's happy. He's cool with the friends. They go back into the house with everyone. They all hug, and it looks like it's great. It looks like Eric will accept Virginia's guy friends, and I'm glad for that, because I don't like when people think that men and women can't be friends. However, like I said before, Virginia has problems with boundaries. You can have a guy friend, and I, as your spouse, may be cool with your guy friend. That still doesn't mean that I want you passing out drunk on your guy friend's couch every weekend. So Virginia, don't take this kumbaya and go too far with it. Next, we get to Haley and Jacob cleaning up after their housewarming. Haley is very thankful that Jacob is cleaning up the kitchen, tidying up the house, but she invites him over to have a drink with her. Jacob's like, no, we already drunk too much. And she's like, yeah, we're just going to have a couple beers. So he obliges her. They sit down on the couch, and they get to just asking questions, trying to get to know each other better. Haley, because of their big age gap and difference, asks him what was he doing at 28. And he starts telling her a story about when he was buying houses, trying to flip homes, and then the 2008 housing market crash happened. She listens. It doesn't seem like she can really relate because, you know, I guess she was still in high school at that time. But she does listen and appears to be open. They do kind of bond over both liking boats. But he then asks her about the bodybuilding and Spartan races and axe throwing, and she's like, no, does it look like something I would like to do? And in this interaction, it just really showed me how different they are. Jacob has a very dry humor. He is a little weird, but he seems to be attempting to get to know her and willing to compromise on things that he might not be that comfortable with or used to doing. And she seems like she's not interested in any of that. You know, she's completely closed off to even going to axe throwing, or, you know, when someone tells you something like that and you're in a relationship with them. I've never done a Spartan race, but maybe that's something we could do together one day. You know, you have to be open to enjoying your significant other's hobbies. It can't be what you want to do all of the time. And it just showed another instance where she's so closed off to him and to the process. I don't know if she was really ready for this. Next, we get to Clara and Ryan's housewarming. And Clara had already asked Brianna and Haley to come to her home because her friends got sick, probably had COVID, and couldn't come to the housewarming. So they do show up, and then you have some of Ryan's friends. I don't know if it was editing or what, but Brianna left as soon as she got there, almost after they had one drink. So I really don't know why she came. But and somewhere along the line, Haley leaves as well. So the next thing we see is just Clara and Ryan on the couch talking with Ryan's friends. Ryan jokes again about him being an old man. And Clara really gets upset in her talking head about that. She's like, I'm over the old man jokes. She does not like how reserved he is. She needs him to be more spontaneous. She tells the friends, I haven't even seen my husband without his shirt off. Now, Ryan, sir, I was with you on moving slow, getting to know each other. But at this point, you all do sleep in the same bed at night, and I'm assuming you have to shower at some point. And you've been in Vegas for a week at the hotel. You went to the pool, I would think. How has she never seen you with your shirt off? Like, at the very least, not your shirt. You work out. We saw you with your shirt out in the previews when they were choosing the contestants. So I don't know. I'm starting to think either he's not that attracted to her or something's going on here. But she talks about how sexually frustrated she is in her confessional, and that they have been doing physical things, but not all the things, and that she is not used to not receiving things that she gives. So I don't want to get too vulgar, but the things that she's giving off almost makes it seem like Ryan is a pillow princess. I don't know what the male equivalent for that is, so I'm just gonna call him a pillow princess. And I want Clara to stop. Self-love, girl. We gotta get you on the same page as Paige. We gotta get y'all together. Why are you continuously, I understand that you all are married, but if someone isn't reciprocating the things that you're giving, don't be that desperate. Don't wait until he warms up and comes on to you a little bit. Don't overextend yourself. That's a word for everybody. Don't do it. Next, we see Vincent and Brianna's housewarming. That was very nice. Different from all the other housewarmings because theirs was only with their family. Vincent brought his brother and mother, and this was their first time meeting them. And Brianna had her mother and sister. They were worried about language barrier because Vincent is from the Dominican Republic. His mother speaks Spanish. But everything that they showed, they seemed to really get along. They communicated well. Vincent was able to translate whenever translation was needed. And it ends with Vincent's mother welcoming Brianna into her family and complimenting her on her cooking. So those tacos had to be on point because that little black girl was able to impress his Dominican Republican mama with her tacos. So I thought that was a really sweet scene. Again, I really love this couple. I hope they can get the few things that they need to work on, which is mainly communication. I really hope that they can get that together because I think they could be a really long-lasting couple that we get from this show. Now, y'all, it's the moment we've been waiting for. The thriller in Manila. All the things, baby. This three-way. I thought we was going to have to play some Brooke Valentine girl fight. I thought, Paige was going to be over there playing a little Moke and Steph. He's mine. Whew. 2 women, 1 man. We get the sit down of Paige, Chris, and his ex-fiance / mother of his child, Mercedes. So, Paige says that she did this sit down because she wanted to take back some of her power. Chris had been using her and, doing all of these things to her this whole time, and she wanted to take back some of her power. So it seems like we finally got a Paige that will stand up for herself. We'll see if it lasts. She compliments Chris and Mercedes when they walk in, telling them that they look jazzy. And then she starts asking questions about Mercedes and her pregnancy and how far she's along. Mercedes says she's about 7 weeks. Now, I don't know if y'all saw it, but it looked like Mercedes was looking at Chris to figure out what she needed to say. I think they had to see if their lie was together and on point, honey, because it didn't look like she knew what the gag was. But she said she's about 7 weeks. Paige tells the talking head, well, I still don't even really know if she's pregnant. I haven't heard anything about doctor's appointments or sonograms or anything. Well, girl, she wouldn't be telling you about the doctor appointment and the sonogram, would she? Why would she share that with you? You're not her friend or her family member. Anyway, she asked if she knew about Chris being married in the show, and Paige and Mercedes says no. I only knew once I called to tell him that I was pregnant. I had no idea that he had tried out for this show, auditioned for this show, or that there was a wedding with all of his family members. Clock that T. Interesting. Paige then says, she took her marriage seriously. She entered into this experiment with pure intentions. And even when she found out that Mercedes was pregnant, she was willing to work it out. She thought it would be okay or kind of cool to have a bonus child. And she says she even thought that she might be pregnant at some point. Mercedes is like, say what now? Pregnant. Why would you be pregnant? And she tells in her confessional, I knew Paige and Chris were intimate. He told me they were intimate, but I didn't think that they were that intimate. So yeah, girl, Chris didn't tell you that this was his wife of all of a week and that they consummated the marriage the first night and they had been having sex pretty much every day per Paige with no contraceptive, no protection, no condoms, no birth control of any sort. Yes, girl. You could have potentially had ghetto twins, as we like to call them, allegedly. Anyway, Mercedes says pregnant by who? And Paige lets her know about him, the man that's sitting next to Chris, my husband, Chris. Paige goes through this whole what if I was pregnant scenario. Girl, quit deluding yourself. It's like she's trying to force this man to want her. I was just thinking, what if I were pregnant too? You would have left me? You would have had to be a father to both children. Paige, he still would have left you. He still would have left. You could have just, put him on child support, garnished him wages, whatever you got to do. He was leaving. That's what he was going to do. Don't confuse yourself. Paige then goes on to kind of finally stand up for herself. She kind of lays into Chris very politely, but she's very stern and gives her side of the story. Says that she feels she's got the short end of the stick. I would agree with you, sis. Production failed you. The experts failed you. You got the short end of this stick, absolutely. In that she came in with pure intentions. Chris, of course, has to pipe in and say, my intentions were pure too. And then Paige says basically everything that Chris has been telling her, that Mercedes is still in love with him and they want to try to work things out for their child. Now, I don't know if y'all saw, Mercedes almost bust out laughing when Paige said that Chris said that she still was in love with him. She really almost gave up what's going on here, what I think is going on here. She almost laughed in everybody's face at that point. She says that getting back with Chris is not going to happen. As far as she's concerned, that's not her priority, not in the cards for her. And Paige is delighted and wonders why Chris then wants a divorce if the ex-fiance really does not want him back. Paige, girl, I know you young. You know, mid-20s is young, y'all. But Paige, I need you to have a little more game. You haven't talked to your mama, your daddy by this point. This man is playing you and you are falling right into the trap. Paige, continues to tell her version of the story to Mercedes, and Chris gets upset. He says, talk to me if you want to take shots. And she's like, no, I'm talking to Mercedes. I'm letting you know, sis, what has happened from my perspective. I like that they respect each other, that they let each other know I don't have issues with you. I have issues with this person who was supposed to be my husband. And Mercedes lets her know, I don't have any issue with you either. I didn't even know about you. So it was a great thing. We didn't have a girl fight. The women came together and showed respect for each other in their respective suffering. Paige then wraps it up and just says, this situation does not serve her anymore. She is tired of the back and forth and now sees Chris's personality and his character as someone who is going to run. And that is not what she wants in a husband. She took vows. She took them seriously, for better or worse, rich or poor, sickness and health. And she wants someone who will stick in when the going gets rough. I admire that quality in Paige. Everybody needs it, right? It's what's necessary in a marriage. I just think because this is a reality TV show and it is an experiment, for you to undergo so many issues in the first week where the man tells you he's not attracted to you. Not only does he tell you, he tells your friends. He tells his friends and family. Every time he talked to anybody at that wedding and reception, he was pretty much disparaging her, how she wasn't a trophy wife, how she wasn't what he was used to. Then everything else that transpired, having sex with her, then letting her know after he had sex with her multiple times that he wasn't attracted to her. Then all of a sudden the fiance is pregnant. It's just too much. You stick with someone when you know it's the right thing, when you know their character, when they are trying. But Chris is not even trying. He's telling you he does not want you. So quit trying to force a square peg into a round hole. Don't do it, Paige. We all are talking about this, and I really do feel bad for Paige. She doesn't deserve Chris, but at some point she's now doing it to herself. Even sitting down for this conversation really was not protecting her peace as she said she wanted to do. It was, like I said, looking for closure. It was grasping at something to hold on to. And now she keeps saying little things, even though she's saying this doesn't serve me. He's not what I want. We see in the preview for next week, she manages to sit down with him again. You said you were done. I can't wait to see how he got her to sit down and talk to him again. So basically, Chris does what he always does. He doesn't like that the ladies are talking amongst themselves and comparing notes. He doesn't like that Paige has said that her intentions were pure, thereby insinuating that his intentions were not. So he throws another adult sized temper tantrum. He says he's frustrated and irritated. Mercedes laughs because she knows that he's always frustrated and irritated. Then he says, "Oh, I'm just gonna go home and watch the game and read my Bible." Sir, you're not reading the Bible. Like, quit lying to yourself. Like, forget us. Quit lying to yourself. You're not going home to read the Bible. You're probably going to call another woman. Now, he walks off, per usual, ends the conversation. The two ladies are just sitting there talking to each other at the end. They again let each other know, hey, you're good with me, I'm good with you. This had nothing to do with you, they're fine. So it was a great ending, right? Because it could have been disastrous. They hyped it up to be this big thing. It really turned out to be nothing. But it's new for Married at First Sight. We have never, every year, when I thought they couldn't get any lower, they keep getting lower. I don't know how we keep doing this. And at this point, I'm starting to wonder, I don't think it's staged, but I'm really wondering about the character of the people that they're choosing. Because if we go back, let's go back a little minute. Let's go back to the casting special. Anybody with eyes and ears, you didn't even need a psychology degree to see how narcissistic and shallow and superficial Chris was. To that point, there has been a lot of debates about, visually what the ex-fiance looked like versus what Paige looked like, right? I don't like to talk about looks or compare anybody's looks, but for the sake of Chris, right, and getting into his psyche, let's look at the visual of the ex-fiance and the visual of Paige in relationship to what a shallow, superficial man like Chris would like. In our community, the Black community, if y'all not Black and you're watching this, thank you for watching. But we're going to talk about some issues in the Black community. Women in our community who meet a Chris who talks about Gucci shoes, Louis shoes, Ferragamo shoes, having all of these clothes in the closet, being ready to go to a gala, what he's attracted to, wanting a trophy wife. We generally know what that aesthetic looks like, right? I'm not that aesthetic. I can be honest with that. I am not in the weight class. If a man told me he was looking for those things, I would not think that he would be attracted to me. With that being said, he has a definite type. And if you know what shallow, superficial men like him look for and what they mean by trophy wife, then you would know that Paige does not fit that category. That doesn't mean she's ugly or unattractive. That just means he would never be proud because of his own crap, not her. He would never be proud to take her around town. That's an issue for him, not for her. And I think because of her need to feel loved, I don't know if the church did it. I don't know if she just grew up like a lot of little girls, buying into these dreams that Disney sells us with the happily ever after. But she has idealized marriage in a totally unhealthy way. And because she has idealized marriage so much, she is hanging on to this piece of crap for dear life. And I want her to let him go. and get some therapy and work on herself. And if you look back at the conversations that Chris was having with her friends at the reception, and he was talking about her body, one of her friends actually said, "Guess her body is beautiful. People always fall in love with her body, but she's way more than that, and it's her brain." And unfortunately, I think this might be a reflection of sort of what Paige has gone through in prior relationships. And that is why she kept having sex with Chris. She's leading with her body. She wants to believe that using her body will make him love her in some kind of way. And I just really hate to see it. We got to go back here. We got to go back here, Paige. Love you. You are a beautiful girl. You have so much to offer to the right man. Chris Williams is not that man at all. So I want Paige to cut her losses, get an annulment, and get this drama out of your life, girl. It is not worth it. Anybody out there that might be going through something similar that Paige is going through, please get out. It's not going to get better, sis. Men like this don't change. It's too ingrained in him. And the crazy part is he really has the audacity. He is not a Denzel. He is not a Tyson Beckford. He is not a Michael B. Jordan. I don't even know what I would compare Chris to, but he's definitely not the prince. He is the frog. But men like him are delusional. And they think because they allegedly make a little money that they deserve a certain type of woman on their arm. You know, men who make a lot of money are usually okay with the transactional nature of, I provide money, my woman provides beauty. And that's as deep as it goes. He's a complete kiddie pool when it comes to being a good person. Morals, character. He's shallow. He lacks all of those things. And to that point, I'm going to wrap this up. But I honestly think that all of this is a lie. I don't watch the spoilers. I already told y'all that. I don't know if they stay together. I'm not going following nobody on social media. But just from how all of this has played out, I actually don't think anybody was ever pregnant. I think Chris made up this lie because he wanted to get out of the marriage. He just didn't expect that Paige would be this type of ride or die who refused to throw in the towel. Because let's be honest, most women, especially most black women, you got who pregnant? And we just got married? Bye. I know I would have. So I think he really just threw this out there to get her to throw in the towel. And when she didn't, he has to keep the lie going. He has to make the lie bigger. I see you, Chris. You are not fooling anybody. That's it, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope you all love the show the way I do. And if you do, leave your comments. Let's talk about it. What did you think about the three-way? What did you think about the meetup? Do you think Mercedes is pregnant? Do you think Chris lied? Do you think Ryan is a pillow princess? I don't know. Get into it, y'all. Like, comment, and subscribe. See y'all next week. Bye.